Hello and welcome. My name is Rob, aka Lantern Noir, and this is Tuesday. It's shortly after 5 o'clock because I forgot that my aging computer really likes to take its time coming back online after it gets a night off. For a prospect as to how old this computer is, think back to when Ark Survival Evolved was still in early access and was the game to benchmark your machine. That's when the sucker was bought. And I think she's going out to pasture like my Nana.
You're going to the farm upstate where all good computers go.
Oh gosh,
And
no. Well, I'll talk. Well, okay. The other voice you hear is my amazing co-host.
Graybeard of Graybeard Tavern. And yeah, I got a chance to get deep into my libation whilst
As I was
whilst we
fighting
were
with my
waiting.
machine.
Yeah.
Well, I'm seriously considering the possibility when this is all over is pulling the hard drives out and then just taking it up to the school I work at as a fundraiser. It's a buck a whack.
Yeah.
Here's a 25-pound sledge. It's a buck a whack at this old computer. All the proceeds go to the mock trial club.
You get a
Yeah.
pickaxe.
Yeah, just have at it. Here's a release for injury and some safety glasses.
There it is.
Oh, Mama didn't raise no fool. The mock trial club is not going to make you sign a waiver. I'm not doing my job as coach sponsor correctly.
Right.
Like, and then I wore a shirt specifically today thinking of my stream teams.
Oh, I can't
It
see.
says I have friends, and then at the bottom half, they're just online.
Oh yeah, you tweeted those. Yeah, dude, you had some good new shirts going on
Tea
there.
Turtle is really bad for someone like me because I love the fact that this is me after work. This is me at work, by the way, folks. This is what I wear to work. I work in blue jeans. I wear a graphic tee and a corduroy jacket.
Nice.
That is me.
That's awesome.
What?
I have to wear scrubs or a uniform, so
Nice.
but I can wear anything I want underneath it. So,
I like that. Well, the thing is, for me, it's like it's become my signature look.
right.
So now I'm like, every time Tea Turtle has some kind of a sale going on, I'm like, I gotta go check it out because I have to keep expanding my aesthetic.
Right.
Like, I got to keep getting more of these and other fandoms I want to show off because the people are noticing that I have cool T-shirts. It's becoming a thing.
That's good.
So
That's good.
I don't want to wait too long to get into the news. So let's do the short recap of the week before we get into the really fun, heavy stuff from the week. How in short, what are the highlights of the last 2 weeks you've had since we didn't get a chance to meet last week? I was getting fillings figured out.
Yeah. So the we've been on hiatus because of people's stuff going on. So we haven't done Indoor Adventures, our Monster Noir game, but we did get an extension on that. It was only supposed to be a 10-week run, but we are going to do 10 episodes at least. It doesn't matter how many weeks we miss. So I didn't have to rewrite story arcs. That was good. I closed out my space campaign using the impulse drive system. No, it ended. It was the first book, and it ended with, so they had this thing that they had affectionately been calling the Hell Glob, which was like a society of nanites. This massive, it took up most of their hold, and the captain had put his terrarium down in the hold and had kind of asked the Hell Glob to, I don't know, he basically, his wife's DNA was in the terrarium, and he kind of asked without asking that the Hell Glob bring his wife back. So it grew a Garden of Eden in the cargo bay, and the cliffhanger for the book was the very last thing is this primordial pool. His wife sits up out of it, and I was like, end credits, go blank, roll credits.
Awesome.
So that was a cliffhanger on that book, and we'll go back to it and probably probably next year we'll probably
Oh.
not go to it, because we're in a 5-part campaign D&D right now, where we're playing NPCs. We are the NPCs in the game. I'm the blacksmith, but I'll win the blacksmith. And one of us is the tavern owner, and one of us is like the magic shop guy and stuff.
We have
So
to pause right now and welcome
sure.
Emily for everyone from Emily Falkreath, who, by the way, is an amazing content creator in her own rights. For those of you who are chilling out who are not familiar with her, I'm going to see if I can find my shout out. I have to type it by hand. Great content. She just brought all of her people over here after her stream. So we really appreciate all the raiders coming in. For those on the podcast, give it a second while we do a little Twitch stuff. My name is Rob, aka Lantern Noir, and this channel we usually find D&D content or D&D adjacent gaming. And then on Tuesdays, we have a little happy hour where me and this gentleman get together and we talk about the years we have spent playing Dungeons & Dragons. And my host would be...
Graybeard Tavern. Raid.
It's always
All right.
good. Raids are great. But yeah, so you're catching us as we're just starting our podcast recording, where you can, where we're going to be talking about our topic of the week. There's the link to the previous shows if you ever want to go check it out. Oh yeah, Emily Falkreath is an amazing content creator. I cannot say enough kind things. It's always fun to go over to her channel and see what's up. As you can tell, she's both Skyrim nerd, so there's a lot of overlap between us here in the D&D world and her universe of the Elder Scrolls. I got it right. Go me. We're just talking about our last week in gaming. I just want to clarify for everyone that's new that came in on the raid. How long have you been playing with this group that you just finished the campaign with?
So other than my brother, the other guys, we've been playing together since 1989, I think. So 30 plus years.
For perspective, if you want to know who was president, you have to go find a history book. That's how far back we're talking.
Yeah. So and I've been playing since I was 8 years old, so 1977. So yeah, we've been playing a while. But to finish up real quick with that, we're playing the NPCs. It's really amazing, and I had a great time with that. And then Sundays I played Wilder Myth, which we put me in as a character. And Graybeard had to retire. He got too old.
Did he take an arrow to the knee?
He actually took a flower to the forehead. He was doomed, and he had the mark of this great ancient forest elder, and hence because he took a leaf to the forehead, he had to retire early.
Yes, we actually are gaming lifers. That's where we're at. And I knew I arrived as a gaming dad because my teen, we were discussing skiing as a hobby, and my teen looked at me and said, well, I was really thinking I wanted to do ski patrol, but then I took a snowball to the knee.
Of course.
And then they just sort of stared at me and waited. Like they knew they had done it, and they were waiting for the high five, which they got. An enthusiastic high five, I would add.
Nice.
So, but that's where that's at. So, yeah, that's awesome though, and it's weird. I think it's in the water because somebody else had posted they had just wrapped up one of their big campaigns on Twitter. So I follow, and then we wrapped up. We had 2 wrap-ups over the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Here at Lantern Noir Presents, my Valley of Plenty game ended, which was we appreciate the lurks, which had been running for, I think we ran 7 episodes. I had planned to go more, but then I got lazy and didn't write more content. Because it was, I had room for dungeons. I had room for classic dungeon crawl, but we were all clipping along solo with the roleplay. I didn't want to derail it with just,
Right.
Here's the map, kick down the door, kill the monsters, go to the next room. And so I didn't. So that came to a really fun, epic conclusion. And then Curse of Strahd wrapped up, ending a year-long campaign that took us from level 1. We ran 3 short adventures that were Domain of Dread inspired. And then at the end of that, it took about probably 4 months to play through. And then we went into Curse of Strahd in like March. Yeah. And we just wrapped it up this past Sunday. In fact, If you look behind me, there's the mug that we have. It's in the merch store that has the party's picture on it.
Oh, sweet.
I got commissioned art towards the end. I waited a little too late, I think, to bring an artist on board, but we got pictures of everybody, and it was a lot of fun. And so it's just been kind of a really neat time with everything. So yeah, it's been very bittersweet to be looking at my week and going, I don't have any game prep to do.
Wow.
And I can't, and I'll talk more about that on the back end. I'm in a position where I can't do game prep right now because of all the things that we're in the process of planning for. But I do want to talk a little bit about that later on, but I think we got to get into the news.
All right.
People saw the title this week, and I think we got to talk about the elephant in the room, which is the announcement of a new game in 2024 by the infamous Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah. So they had a weekend, a D&D weekend, kind of a online Gen Con-y kind of thing, and the very last half hour was the designers, and they were doing a queued up interview, but an interview to talk about what's coming down the pipe. And they had announced that I guess it has been interpreted many different ways, but 2024 would be 10 years, and they're putting out a new product then, whether it's going to be a 5.5 or a 6th edition or whatever. That's what's in contention currently, but they've said that it's going to be in backwards compatible. But they said that about D&D Next before Next became 5th edition.
Yeah, I remember that as I had never looked at the D&D Next books. So when you picked those up, help me out. What was I holding when I did that?
So there wasn't a lot in book form. It was play testing. It was kind of like the pre UA stuff that they've been doing now. It was like that, and I happened to be connected with a group that was play testing for 5e, and so that's what they were talking about. That's what they were calling D&D Next at the time, because they were so afraid of 4th edition, because they had done 4th edition, and then they wanted to walk away from that. So they didn't want to just go, okay, 2 years ago we put out 4th edition, now we're going to put out 5th edition, and have that anger, because when they did 3 and 3.5 within a year of each other, people lost their minds.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, 3rd edition was in 2000. Revision 3.5 was in 2003, which is still pretty dang fast. It's only 3 years.
Faster. Yeah, it seemed faster.
I remember when the 3.5 book hit, I was like, I'm not buying another rule book. Right. I have my 3rd edition. I can run my games in 3rd edition. Bugger off. I'm not giving you another $40. Yeah. And I've always kind of maintained that they really shot themselves in the foot. Like, they would have sold a crap ton of 3.5 books if they had told the friendly local game stores, we will buy back used 3rd edition books at like some ungodly high amount compared to what they were worth to move the 3.5 products. Because if I'd gone in the store and said, for $5 I can upgrade, I'll go do that. Yeah. But it was one of those where it's like, I don't think I even own a 3.5 book, because on principle, I'm like, nope. If there's revisions, you either need to like put something online I can download for free, or you need to own the fact that you sold me a faulty product.
Dude, and I am such a D&D slut. I was all of them. Oh yeah, I finally 2 years ago. The last time we had a Gen Con, I got rid of my 3 my third edition books. I put them in the auction, and they sold. So somebody out there wanted the 3 versus 3.5. I did enjoy 3.5. I did not enjoy 4, though 4 had some good bits. But yeah, so they're looking at 2024. That'll be 10 years of 5th edition when that comes out. They said that it was going to be backwards compatible. I have seen a lot of people calling it 5.5 online. It seems that they're going to do a lot of cleaning things up. Some of the things they were talking about were they're going to redo monster stat blocks, particularly in the spellcasters. Instead of the spellcasters having like a spell list and spell slots, they're just going to have magic actions. They're just gonna have options, and they just cast spells.
And hopefully on some recharges, because I like the idea of certain monsters, like Strahd, for example, being able to go, you know what? I'm just gonna drop in, 12d6 fireball right now. But you don't want, if you could write a balanced encounter where the vampire overlord of a domain of dread can just keep doing that over and over again. But at a certain point where you're like, this is just not going to be fun for the party.
Right.
And if I've learned anything about D&D, they have very little faith in dungeon masters keeping things fun for the party without making them keep it fun.
Right.
Because there's so many out there that will do things like, I can and I will, and it's your job to survive it. So they have to balance for that. We had a horrible conversation over on Discord, and I'm totally sympathetic, but it was like a second level adventure where the party had to go down a hallway, and the enemy at the end of the hallway had fireball.
Oh.
And it's like, this is kind of just set up where if I play this NPC with half a brain cell, it's a TPK.
Yeah.
And I'm like, either they didn't play test it much, or you're right, there's a problem here.
Well, and it's funny too, because one of the things that I've said a lot about modules is that a lot of times they assume it's going to be 4 optimized characters, and it's going to be a cleric, a fighter type, a wizard, and a rogue. Blah. So as they write for those 4 characters, that party. And so sometimes you just come across stuff that you're like, there's nothing these 4 people can do in this situation,
Or the flip side of that, when I was playing my Solasta game, I had a party of 2 wizards, a warlock, and a cleric. And it was kind of like, I don't know if this is going to keep going, but at 3rd level right now, this game is trivial. Like, this is just kind of a joke. And I'm kind of afraid to keep playing it too much more, because I'm like, at the rate we're going, nobody is presenting much of a challenge.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I ran Keep on the Borders lands for the Grognards and my house elves in 5e, and they had 3 spellcasters and a rogue. And they wholesale slaughtered everything, because every time they walked into a room, they Nova struck and then snuck away, and rested up, and then Nova strike, and so yeah.
Why did you hire the ranger? Wait till the battle's over. Okay, pass without a trace. That's why you hired the ranger. I get it.
Exactly.
Also, she casts good berries.
Right. Yeah, again, the Caves of Chaos, to tell a quick story. I finally realized that the hobgoblins would get tired of these spellcasters, and they came up with just what they thought was a brilliant plan. They built a rolling mantlet with spikes on it, and they started down the hall at the party. The wizard webbed them. The druid spike growth them. The bard took and slung a bow shot and got a nat 20. So in 75% cover through the slot, the driver of the mantlet just blam right in the eye. Took them. I was like, okay, yeah, I'm done. The caves surrender to you. Oh,
Congratulations, you rule caves. What would you like your goblin minions to do now?
yes, exactly. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead.
No, because my next thought is like, okay, so now you have goblin minions.
Right. Yeah.
Good luck ruling them. And you can't just, at a certain point, you can't wholesale slaughter them because someone from like Waterdeep's going to show up with some paperwork to say, these are sentient creatures that you have taken leadership over. You're legally bound by them now. There are certain things you just can't do. This is a summons from this lord. If you do this, this will be a summons from another one. If you don't do this, and by the way, we have reports of your goblins raiding. You need to find out who they are. But we have a member of the Justicars Guild here who wants to make sure you give them a fair trial.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the goblins are behind him with a pump cart, rolling across the background with like it's throwing fire everywhere. Yeah. So yeah, the some of the other stuff that they talked about. Backwards. What did I say already?
Backwards compatibility has been like the thing everyone's latching onto as why it's going to be 5.5.
Well, and that's I can see them making it, calling it something like D&D Core or D&D Anniversary Edition or something like that, and expanding, like, so we've seen the power creep, right? As every book comes out, like when Tasha's came out, a lot of the first run classes were just done. You're like, why would I ever play or any of the other rangers when I got this? Any of the other sorcerers? These sorcerers have extra spell stuff on their spell lists, and so, like I said, the power creep was real. And I think what they'll do is in the 5.5 or whatever that's going to eventually be called core, they'll realign all that and like start again. The other one that was really good and caused a lot of thought processes was going to be 30 playable races, and they're going to all be non-setting specific. So again, doing the mental math and nerd white room thinking on it, it'll probably drop the Ravnica races because they're from Ravnica, which is sad because Centaurs and Minotaurs are both in those, but the Minotaurs are also in the Sword Coast book, so we'll see.
A playable Centaur race is something they've been kind of like, I think there's like a lion Centaur thingy that may or may not be in 5th. I know it was in an expansion for 4th.
Yeah.
There was the lion people Centaur things. But I don't think they've done a Centaur race for general use in 5th, have they?
In the Ravnica book.
Okay.
And then they had satyrs were in Theros. They added satyrs, and now in the newest book they've added fairies and rabbit folk. The Haragun or whatever they're calling the rabbit peeps. So
yes, which somehow I got access to because I don't think, maybe I bought it because I did a homebrew fairy for the Valley of Plenty game. I actually went in and homebrewed it a bit because I had a very particular look of like, if we're going to do this, I want it to look like this with these effects. So I actually made a homebrew race, put it all out there, gave it to my player. My player grabbed it, went with it. It was great.
Nice.
And it worked really well, and she's a good player, and she did not abuse it, for which I am beyond grateful. Oh, yeah, there's the Ravnica stuff. Okay.
So, so people have been lighting up the Twitter and Reddit. Woo, dyslexic moment there. and about all the possibilities of all the races that are out there, and the 26 different elves. They could just have 30 elves in the book, but we think that the sub races, or at least I personally think the sub races, will be included under the categories. So hence you'll have like 12 elves and
Yeah.
10 tieflings and
I would, okay. Before we get to the question in chat, I would not be
Sure.
adverse to a little more diversity of sub races for some of the other races I'm not as familiar with, just for
Right.
flavor.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could be kind of cool. I think there is some room for, for them to kind of just be aware of that. And I do hope they keep racial stat bonuses, because I do think that when we assume everyone is not median height 5'10", a buck
Mm-hmm.
50, you
Yep.
are going to have things that are just physically stronger because they're bigger,
Right.
and
Right.
and more dexterous because they're built smaller. I think that's perfectly fine. I think
Right.
being aware of, being conscious about how you present it, due to their small stature,
Right.
these are more likely to be. That's just me. Is there really power creep? Using just the player's handbook, I can make a barbarian level 8 eagle totem to see a mile, observant feat lip reading, and keen mind to make the DM memorize everything for me.
Maybe that's an exception, but yes, exactly.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
I think this is a great debate about Dungeons and Dragons and all RPGs, and in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways computer RPGs.
Right.
How do you balance, really, when you have someone that can come to a table and say, I have this character, it's a balanced character
Mm-hmm.
that does 30 damage per round as a 4th level ranger,
Mm-hmm.
when someone else joins the party who says, well, I'm not really good at making a character, so this is what I came up with. And like their top spell, they've got a spell, but they didn't put enough points into intelligence, so their DC's a little bit low. And then this, it's like you want to be sure that everyone's contributing, and you want to create a rule set that encourages party balance
Right.
and keeps your DM sane, because players aren't dumb. Players will
Well,
figure out when you're like, every time the ranger engages it, it seems to have a lot more hit points than when the rogue does. Because we've been tracking over here, and that doesn't seem fair, but you don't want one person to shine.
yeah. Yeah, and we again, to address it, we've talked about how you just, when you have those people, you just have to make those moments, or write in those moments for them to shine, because it is a bard in the College of Eloquence is never going to do 50, 60, 90, 101 points of damage in a round like some paladins.
But if we're trying to talk about, if we're musing between, is this going to be a 5-5 where they're going to take everything that's out there, pull it together, rebalance a few things, say, look, here's the new 10th anniversary player's handbook. Not even 10th anniversary, 50th anniversary player's handbook for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Because that's the only thing we should put in here. For those of us of a certain age who don't want to appreciate how old we are, the first edition of Dungeons and Dragons was released in 1974, which would
Yep.
make 2024's release also the 50th anniversary of Dungeons and
Exactly.
Dragons at large. So you want to
And
make
that's part of that calculation for that date too. So, but
best new rule will be that the character's name is Aaron Tier. He gets to do quadruple damage. Random name chosen. I see no problems with that. Also, hello.
true.
But I do think something that WotC's dealing with right now is both post-pandemic, post-critical role, post Will Wheaton's tabletop, post YouTube. D&D is shockingly popular from where it was 30 years ago. And they are trying really hard to be sure, I think, This is why
Yeah.
why my money says it's a 5.5
Yeah.
rather than a new edition.
Hmm.
Is they want to be really confident that if any player sits down at any table with any DM with any published adventure and makes a character following the guidelines in that player's handbook, they are
Yeah.
going to have a good experience, even if the DM sucks.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, that's very viable. Yeah, part of the I think the thinking too, and of course they didn't say this, but as someone who has been through 5 flippin' editions, kind of 6 if you count 3 and 3.5,
Jet.
as 2 different, um, they don't want to scare people because in 2014 when 5th ed came out, it was like, oh yeah, this is cool. But because of all the things you just mentioned, I mean, D&D's off the chart. It was off the chart. And so there's so many people now playing that have never been through the edition thing. And so I'm pretty sure that it took like 5 years to get to this massive community. If you got this huge community, you don't want to all of a sudden go, well, now you're going to have to buy new books. I mean, that's what it is, but at the same time they don't want to scare those new gamers, because they've seen it happen before, when new editions come out.
Well, and that's the thing. Yeah, D&D has at least doubled in players since last year. Yeah, I think that's not wrong. I do think I read an article that also hit this week out of Australia that identified that a lot of people are chalking up to the pandemic. It's a social event that you can do
Right.
over Zoom. You don't have it's not like playing Monopoly where you have to move pieces around a board and someone has to have the board and everyone just tells them what to do. It's truly independent as far as each player goes. I know my streaming partially came out of the pandemic, me going, I want to play D&D again. How do I do it? And a little bit of I got to find my niche here on the Twitches, and with a face for radio, it's not going to be just smiling at the camera all hour. So
Yeah, and too with D&D Beyond out there, it was so easy to go, okay, we're gonna have a Zoom call, and then you got your character sheets, you just make your character here, you click the little clicks, and you be whatever you want, and I think that really made it that much easier too, to during the pandemic to get a crew together.
They removed the barrier of entry that Roll20 presented. Because
Yeah.
I used Roll20 back in the 4th edition days. And I generally enjoyed 4th edition for what it was. I'll even admit the fact that I kind of dug the fact that every class had a flavor with the same concept of you get powers. What do your powers do? Well, that depends on your class.
Right.
But everyone's on the same, what do you want to do this turn? Look at your power list.
Yeah.
So, back then though, there was we're going to get together on Thursday to play D&D, but we're not actually playing on Thursday. We're just getting our character sheets in. We're pushing buttons. We're moving tokens. I'm teaching you the interface. I'm communicating with you about how this is going to work. Whereas now it's I slap some tokens on a Google Jamboard and you just click the button on your character sheet. With 6 games started in the D&D universe by Wizards this year, I doubt huge rule changes will be made soon. But that's the thing. 3 years is not soon.
Yeah.
In publishing circles, 3 years is a long time.
And I think too, that's one of the reasons they took this opportunity to put that out there, because they had also announced that they want to do what they did with D&D 5, where they did the D&D Next, and they put out stuff for play testing and stuff. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that being the UA type deal, and just getting a lot of new tweaks and stuff to see what's going to happen. Real quick before I forget,
Mhm.
the other thing that they announced there is that when some of the new settings, there's going to be new settings, and there's going to be 2 classic settings coming out in the next 2 years. Before then, before we get to there, it's going to be 2 classic settings and a brand new 1 or 2 settings. But the other thing that they announced was that they're going to be, and the new edition will be available in a different format. And so that has led people to lose their minds over, is it going to be, are they launching their own virtual tabletop, which has led people to go, I've spent hundreds and hundreds of dollars on D&D Beyond, and if you guys make me buy new digital books, I will strangle you, kind
Although,
of thing.
there's a lot of options there. So let's bet
Yeah.
100% they do. Well, the smart move, honestly, if you ask me, is to buy D&D Beyond. Hasbro has the money,
Mhm.
like plain and simple. They could buy it, and that's the smart. I mean, I'm not an accountant or an economist, but I feel like the smart move is just buy D&D Beyond and be done. Like I can't believe they're separate companies still.
And they've been working, D&D Beyond's been working towards the virtual tabletop option, as we've been going along. I mean, when you started, there were no buttons to click you to roll your dice. There were no dice, no digital dice and stuff. So they are heading towards there. There was no encounter app or anything. I mean, at this point, when I run my game on Sunday nights for the oldest house elf, I do it all on computer. I build the encounters and everything right then and there.
And D&D Beyond's getting better. A year ago, it was not that great. That's when I started using the improved initiative, and it has been like the best $5 I've spent every month. Because I on my little spreadsheet of income and expenses for streaming, I got my little $5 Patreon payment over to Eric Bailey for improved initiative. And I've been I'll be honest, I've been a little disappointed in D&D Beyond's pace at rolling out online tools. I would think should be their single biggest focus, is to make it a one-stop shop.
Yes.
And they still haven't gotten, I think they still haven't gotten their encounter trackers done right.
Yeah.
They're still lagging way behind people, like literally hobbyists.
Yeah.
But hear me out now. Let's assume Hasbro Wizards of the Coast gets their virtual tabletop and they get it efficient. They hire Eric to come over from doing his Patreon thing. They bring him on board. He imports all his crap. They put out all their new rules for 6th edition. It's like 5th edition, but it's 6th because it's got enough tweaks to it that it's technically different. It's smoother. They streamline things. Everything's clipping. And then they say, tell you what, we get it. You put $200 on D&D Beyond books. We know you're mad. We're just going to make this a flat every book, $15 a month. That's it. That's all we want. We're not going to screw you. All you need to play is $15 a month. And for every time, if you want to go up to a $40 a month deal, you can share it out to up to 4 players at a time.
Right.
And so so up to 4 players at a time can be part of your campaign, have all the books, and you don't have to buy another book.
Yeah.
And
you just have a subscription.
You just have your subscription. And I think that kind of thing would really blunt the pain of, but I've bought all these books. So if Wizards of the Coast is serious about having their own digital footprint beyond D&D Beyond, I think they could go that direction in 2024 and probably not take it too hard on the chin for it.
Yeah, particularly, like I said, if for over the next 3 years they keep chipping away and they keep bringing the bits and pieces out, so that we ease into that, it'd be a much smoother. Now, personally, I'd like to see, something. It basically get your initiative tracker guy, get the get Hero Forge to,
How have
directly
those guys not
import,
gotten bought yet?
and that's what
Jeez.
I'm saying, and to directly import miniatures into whatever this virtual tabletop is, and then have like Dungeon Fog or one of the big companies that has a virtual tabletop, get them on map making and such, get them on board, so that it's like you're saying, $15 a month, and I sit down and go, I play D&D today, and I'm playing D&D. you know I don't have to load up 6 screens, and I'm playing, I got this app and those going and these sheets over here. I can just all lump it into my $15. Sold.
I have to wonder though, with so many new players who have
Mm-hmm.
not done the edition war,
Mm-hmm.
and let's pretend for a second that fourth didn't happen. Just for
Okay.
a quick second, let's take fourth off the table for a second, because fourth was, as much as we liked it between the two of us, it was not generally well received, and a lot of players stuck with 3.5 for that span of time. So
I did.
yeah, so if you kind of think about that, it's been 10 years, but this is a generation of players that might not be willing to part with all the mechanics, and I'm almost wondering if, like, this is my step towards the 5.5, if they publish a D&D anniversary edition, which is 5th edition rules, but streamlined, cleaned up, toned back, balanced, and then they roll it out with, by the way, we have a digital tabletop, we have a digital miniature maker, we have digital character sheets, we have the entire D&D experience, would that not check everything they promised us in the press release?
It would. Yeah.
And then they don't risk all these new players going, F it, I'm going to stick with 5th edition.
Mm-hmm.
Because the only thing that could hurt them, in my opinion, is if they go over to D&D Beyond and say, you need to turn off 5th edition stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we need them to buy the new books. You need to sunset access to the 5th edition content, because we need to move everyone into 6th. And I think that unless, with the number of people who are learning on 5th,
Yeah.
I think it's too many people who are too risk adverse to spending money to truly justify a whole new, truly different edition.
Well, and two, the bones of 5e, the core mechanics are so solid. They're just so, just they're a damn pyramid. They're just blam. They kept it simple. You can do a lot with it. Bound accuracy has made it so it's, all the problems in 3 and 3.5 of, well, I'm plus 27 to stealth, thank you very much. And when I say that, it was not impossible.
Oh, yeah.
So it's there's very few things in this edition where you could do that. I mean, other than the observation, alert, blah blah blah, where your perception is, based plus 20 or so. Anyway, so with the bound accuracy and the bones of this of 5e, it's a really rock solid game for that type of system. So I think that straying too far from it, if nothing else, like you said, pull it back a little and make it not dumber, just smooth again. My big suggestion would be, leave everybody's damage and hit points where it is. And I know I say it all the time, but bring the monsters' hit points down so that fights don't take 3-4 hours. That when we played 15th level characters versus the Kraken, we played for almost 4 hours in that fight. And I pulled punches so that we could get through that fight.
Well, and that gets into like just the nature of game entertainment. Although before I mention this, I want to acknowledge Ear's comment that in about that time we're supposed to see a new open world D&D RPG. I know very little of this myself, but I'm going to be looking into it because Baldur's Gate 3 has not captured my attention. And I still will maintain that Celesta, Crown of the Magister, is the superior D&D computer experience that we have been waiting for since Baldur's Gate 2 and since Neverwinter Nights. And really filled the void that Neverwinter, the MMO, left because it wasn't, once it went free to play, it became kind of eh. But that's my personal opinion on it. Yeah, we'll have to see what we get when we get there. What was I going with that before I got derailed with the other thing? I started with a thought and then I lost it because I was acknowledging Ear's thought.
Take that other track.
Welcome to middle age, folks. Population, my thoughts.
It'll come back.
It'll come back. If it's important, I'll find it again. But I do think though that is a very solid system. And I do think that combats that run long are hard to do well. But I also think, and I think this is a byproduct of Dungeons and Dragons writ large, and I think it's actually a feature, not a bug. I like, to a degree, the fact that when you get to a certain power level, the game starts to lose some allure unless you do something really clever. Because the game is kind of like, if you think about it, at what point is Hercules bored? He's not excited by combat once he's Hercules. He needs something else. And I think 15th level characters, 10th level characters really are meant to represent like your yes, you can go fight a dragon if you want to, but toe to toe with a dragon is going to be a slog fest. It's not going to be highly entertaining for anybody to watch. You can't build a movie around a Titan fighting a dragon by itself. You need to do something to make these paragons look interesting in a combat. Now, if they're smart, they're going to rewrite the DM's guide from the ground up. Because if we hadn't had a topic this week, I was going to propose that as our topic, which is we are going to write a better DM's guide, starting with our outline. What do we put in it and where do we put it? Because I will support this. We were kicking around on Twitters this week. D&D does a terrible job of prepping people to be DMs.
Yes.
It's going to say, look, here's some alternate rules to consider. Here's a module. Here's how to read the module. Good luck.
Yeah. And one of the other things we were going to kind of talk about this week was
getting old.
Witchlight, yes. I can't remember the first part of Witchlight. Wild something and the Witchlight. Anyway, the new module out.
Yes.
They have done they are obviously aware that this is the situation. They have done a much better job of, hey, let's think how to organize and how to run a module better. It really is a much better laid out and processed adventure. And I think that is, I'm hoping that is their thinking going forward, is that they are going to try to teach us. I think they were trying in 5th edition to be like, well, they didn't want to insult all of us old timers because, this is how you run an adventure. And they wanted to leave it so that you could do your own thing instead of going, here is Forgotten Realms and this is how we run it, blah, and jam it down our throats.
It'll be really neat for chapter 0 of our DM's guide. Let's rabbit hole a moment here.
Okay.
I would love one of those point things that you see as memes going around. Like, here's a whole list of things. They're all worth so many points. Figure out your score. I think that would make a great chapter 0.
Yeah.
And then, like, at the bottom, you say, okay, if you scored anything, you are ready to be a DM. If your score is between 1 and 40, you definitely want to read chapters 1, 2, and 3. If your score is 50 to 100, you can probably start with chapter 4. If you scored over 200, you can probably start with the tables in the appendix. If you got higher than 300, you're working for us already. If you aren't, here's the email address for your resume. And then just put it there and just be like a little tongue in cheek, but also a little bit like, look, let's be honest. We're going to put some chapters in here that are designed for people who heard from a friend, who heard it from a friend that D&D was cool. And when they all said, well, we need a dungeon master, who's that going to be? Everyone went this faster. And so they don't know. So they bought the DM's guide and now they just need to know what the hell they're supposed to do. And that's what chapters 1 through 3 should be. Like, I would even open chapter 1 with, so your friends want to play D&D and you got the short straw. Like, just own it. You're probably here because nobody else wanted to be the dungeon master. It's okay. We got your back. Here's everything you need to know to get started. Whereas us old farts are like, yeah, we already kind of know how the pacing goes and how combat goes. And we've learned all our tricks for tracking initiative. We don't really need to read all those, but it'd be good to put in the book. You know, have sticky notes so you can make a little initiative tree. Here are some pictures of actual initiative trees.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So, it'd be too hard to dig out. But yeah, all of my like 3-5 books have just post-it notes that are in the edges.
Freaking
and it's
put them in the shrink.
Yeah.
If you're going to shrink wrap the book, you put a pile of those little sticky note tab things inside the shrink with the DM's guide.
Yep.
Just sell them with the book.
As a matter of fact, my first edition hardback DMG, if you set it on its edge and you let it open, it'll go right to page 75, 76.
Which is?
All the tables, the THACO and saving throw tables. It will just go black.
Gee, I wonder what you had to consult from time to time.
Exactly. And so that's why this is what I think is so funny. There's so
somewhere
much.
I have my combat computer. Because I was able to get my dad to take it to work with him, and he brought me home a photocopy of the combat computer that they had in the book. And then we glued it onto poster board and cut it out and put one of those, either it was in the DM's guide or it was in a Dragon magazine.
Yeah.
And it was a dial, and you would just twist it, and you would line up your THACO with something, and then you could look to see what all the ACs you hit based on what you rolled were. And I even had little extra like tables, so it's like, oh, you're a cleric that's 4th level. Well, here's all your saves.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you're a 3rd level wizard. Okay, here's all of your saving throws, and here's how many hit points you get. And it's like all of that was built into the little openings on it because the whole disc was just packed with data.
That's awesome.
And that's how you knew nerds made it, because and that's I think here's the biggest thing I hope they don't do. And it 4th edition I think suffered from it a little bit, which is 4th edition really shone when you had your power cards. Like if you had a deck of power cards for your character class and you could kind of like lay them out in front of yourself and kind of think what you were doing, that's a really, and then add the dice rolling, add the map management. That's a nerdy look. 3, let's be honest, the amount of book pour you have to do to play the game. Like I was playing the Pathfinder game that just came out, and it took me, I think, 45 minutes to make my character. And I know 3-5.
Yeah.
Really nerdy to watch people constantly going to a rule book.
Yeah.
5th is so smooth. You walk by people playing D&D, all you hear is people laughing and throwing dice.
Yeah. It's one of the things that I've been saying forever when, Pathfinder came out, and Pathfinder immediately went to system bloat. I mean, they just were like, sell more books, where it got to the point where it was intimidating to new players.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to be, you want to play Pathfinder? Here's,
Thump.
okay, let's start. you needed a flow chart to kind of get you in the ballpark of what kind of character. And then once you started, you had to build your character from first to 20th level because you wanted prerequisites. And if you wanted to be as prestige class, you needed to have X, Y, and Z, and all. You needed spreadsheets to make a dang
And
character.
that's why we've yet to get prestige classes in fifth, and in many ways, I hope we don't.
Yeah.
I think personally, prestige. Maybe they will with the sixth. Maybe they'll throw a bone to say, look, these are some things out there that are kind of cool. You can introduce them to your game. Your players can work towards them. It's part of the multi-classing thing.
Yeah.
But it becomes one of those where it's not going to be the same level of did you take this feat and that feat and this feat with this ability. It's more of a this is where your character ended up. So
Yep.
this is what you get to do now. Hopefully.
And I think that multi-classing in and of itself is the prestige classes in fifth with the subclass choices. So your subclass is kind of your prestige stuff, and then putting two classes together in weird combos is what makes you a prestige class. Paladin Warlock, a Palalock, or a Bardigan, or any of those weird mishmashes.
As Curse of Strahd wrapped up in the last probably 4 sessions, Dagon went from fighter to fighter barbarian. And it was kind of one of those, it became a very interesting 2-weapon fighter because you add some of those barbarian class features in, and it's like, this is pretty. I mean, he gave up some of the higher level fighter stuff because he shot over to have those barbarian feats, but things like, I'm just going to go reckless because I'm protecting Irina and I don't care if I get hit. It's like, okay, there you go. And then the damage resistance while raging. I mean, he was like starting to become a bit of a tank when he'd always been this DPS class. And it was kind of cool. Then we had the fact that he was undead because he got killed halfway through the game.
Yeah, my character Kronk, he's got 3 levels of Zealot Barbarian, and because he is, he's a 8 foot tall, 600-pound Goliath gladiator of war, and so it just you play along and you start adding those levels. And so like I played him as a fighter like 1 to 5th, and then I added a level of barbarian at 6th, and then another fighter, and I kept it going back and forth all the way. We finished at 10th level with that campaign, and just adding those 3 levels added this whole other level to the character where, yes, I am an immortal basically, because if I die, it costs you nothing to, there's no material component to bring me back. The gods of war want me fighting, and stuff. So it allows you to create these just amazingly cool characters. So I like you just said, I'm hoping we don't suddenly have this weird prestige class stuff.
Hey, welcome, Vashon. We're wrapping up our main topic. We're gonna start going into our just kind of fun, wacky, what's been on your mind going through this. I think that would be another interesting thing they could do with a D&D Anniversary 5.5 edition is maybe release some recipes. So not prestige classes, but that would be like an interesting choice in the player's handbook to dedicate some space to saying, hey, if you multi-class these classes together,
right,
here are some things you see. Because one thing that's always been woefully absent from the books, I think, is a really good idea of what's possible later. And that's always kind of been the purview of Reddit or Twitter. And for players that don't use those tools, it becomes one of those, well, wait a second. How did you just do 45 damage? Well, I've got this. I mean, we're back to oh God, is it Donna? No, it's not. Joanna's character in Gamers 2.
Oh yeah, the intelligent fighter.
The intelligent fighter who had a feat from 3.5 that didn't exist, which is if you down an enemy, you get an attack of opportunity if there's another enemy within 5 feet. And had another feat that gave her like a free 5-foot step with every attack.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? And it's one of those where the fun with that is the way the movie is written. It's meant to kind of play off the fact that she read the rules. So yes, girls can read D&D books. And as a new player was smarter about a character build than all the grognards who had been playing for the last 5 years together, who had never thought to see if you could make an intelligence-based fighter. Which just makes that, if you've never seen Gamers 2 Darkness Rising, one of these nights I am going to do a watch party on Discord because we need to do this. I actually might contact Dead Gentleman Productions and say, can I do a watch party on stream?
Right.
Will you be heartbroken if I do that? Because like people need to see this movie. It is just too good not to see. We watched it with the teen a while back, and they were just laughing their backside off because it's so, and they know enough D&D to get all the references and all the great stuff.
It's a Journey Quest again, by the same people. That's one of the girls and I's favorite. Whenever we're like looking for something to watch and we can't agree on anything, we always go back to Journey Quest because it's just so good and so fun.
And it's so true to D&Ders. It's like they are our people. They get it. It's good. Where it lands. Yeah, as Seki was saying here in chat, we're talking about the end of that campaign and where those characters ended up. And I'm going to say this. I want to say this as often as I can. I had a whole thing planned for the end of that particular story arc. Because Curse of Strahd has a lot of different ways it can end. You can kill Strahd. You can not kill Strahd. In our version, they needed someone to take Strahd's place.
Nice.
And the paladin didn't bat an eyelash. Like they saw that the world was collapsing because there wasn't a Strahd person, and went, "I'm in."
Yeah.
And it was such a great ending to that campaign.
That's amazing.
It was. I can't say. It's crazy. I never thought we were going to run a campaign that long.
Yeah.
And it's been really fun.
It was when we started playing Waterdeep Dragon Heist, it was like, okay, this should be about 14 episodes. You know, a year plus later.
Oh, okay. I got past that. I was going to ask you, how long did it take you guys to get through Dragon Heist?
Well, we were playing with Indoor, and we were all very into our characters and stuff. And yeah, it took a year of playing pretty solid, but you don't have to do it that way. We were involved in city politics, and then when we finished it, we continued on with some other stuff, but not a lot.
So out of curiosity, would you estimate 10 to 15 is for a typical group is probably a fair estimate?
Most shows that I've seen it run are under 20.
Okay.
Most streams that I've seen are about 20 episodes.
Cool.
or shorter.
Okay.
For it.
That's fair. That's fair. Because that's the one that I've picked as my next. Partially because I really want to do more than just the first third.
Right.
Like I've a couple times now run that first little quest you use to get you from level 1 to level 3 and get you established in Waterdeep, which I think is fun. Like I think it's a great adventure all by itself. Is the whole like, hey, could you help me find my friend? And hey, now that you've done that, here's what's going to happen to you. And I'm a legal nerd, so the idea of like saying, oh, you just got a property. Here are some things that come with property, and everyone's like, wait, what? There are forms to fill out.
I adore letting people have a base and some things. So like in my Grognard home campaign, once they took out this keep, they found that, we set it up so that one of the players was actually the great grandson of the necromancer who originally built the keep, and then he had to get in with the liege lord of the closest, and become a vassal, and all that hoo-ha. I love giving bases and having a base of operations for a party. It just adds a lot.
Speaking of, I know I've talked about Candlekeep before on stream and being a little disappointed in the lack of through line. Totally recant.
Oh, Okay.
It is, it you have to be a DM that wants a through line,
Mm.
but there's room for one. Looking, there's a few adventures I've dropped because I didn't like them, and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
think they were that good. There's
Mm.
one that I'm like, basically it's a dungeon. They go purge. That's really
Mm.
what it is. It's a lot of like, hey, why is there a dungeon to go purge? Well, let's take some time to roleplay you finding out why you should go kill everything in it. And then the rest of the adventure is killing everything in this dungeon. Which, hey, if that's your jam, that's your jam. My
Yeah.
Candlekeep people, on the other hand, whom I adore as
Mm.
four of my favoriteest people,
Mm.
would not be happy
Right.
with, we only need 30 minutes of roleplay. The rest of the time is going to be dungeon crawling because that 30 minutes of roleplay would take us 3 weeks.
Right. Right. Exactly. That was so much of the dragon heist for us. It was,
Okay. I feel a little better than thinking I might pull this off before summer.
yeah.
Because I've got one guy's like, you're not planning on running a long game, are you? And I went,
Mm.
well, I consider 15 weeks a good length. He's like, it's going to be 6, right? No, it's not 6.
Mm.
We might make 15. I think that's a good number to aim for. But yeah, it's we just finished Shemshime's bedtime rhyme,
Mm.
which was I probably my favorite one in Candlekeep. Great story, great concept. I love the fact that players are trapped somewhere, and the whole action happens in a very small place. It's a very indie film when you stop and think
Nice.
about it, because it's like the set's not big. It's like they rented Canterbury Village here in Auburn Hills, and they shot the entire thing over a Saturday afternoon.
It's Clerks or The Village or something that takes place in like one little
Yes.
spot.
Are they doing a new story? Yes, we are starting another Candlekeep adventure. On the heels of them wrapping up the last one. The last episode ended with them rolling on this cart because they're taking stuff from the end of the Shemshime's bedtime rhyme. I won't say what they're taking. They're taking it with them to Waterdeep.
Nice.
And on their way, they notice a ghost of a serving girl watching from behind the trees in the forest, reaching out to them silently. That's what we ended on.
Nice.
And it did a nice job of setting up this is what's going to happen with this group. This is what they're going to be trying to find. And there's a whole story arc. And from what it looks like, it is the very best kind of module. It's got some role play. It's got some exposition. It's got some intrigue. And then it has like a classic, like a dungeon. And a well-made dungeon, a logical dungeon with a logical villain at the back of it. So I'm like, this is... Mwah. Now, I'm probably going to run it and be furious by the time we get to the end, but I'm not feeling a need to do a lot of, like, the Book of the Raven. I kind of rewrote because it was kind of meh. But I really have come to like that book, and I think I did not appreciate how much stuff is in it. Because there's just like these adventures are not written very long, but there's a lot of room to do a lot with them.
Yeah, and that's funny because that's one of the ones that are on the shelf of, well, I might play this someday, so I'm not gonna read it.
Okay, so here's what you gotta do. Here, as a friend, I gotta tell you, you need to let yourself off the hook.
Yeah.
You need to read a couple of them.
All right.
Like, go ahead, pick one to run with the house elf.
Yeah.
Maybe read the first one, because you can also play dumb on the first one pretty well too if you play it with people. Like, that's another quirk to it. Is a couple of these you can play dumb on and still have a good time with the role play. But let yourself read a couple, because very few people are going to do what I try to do, which is say, we're going to run every adventure in Candlekeep Adventures. It's going to be I'm looking to run The Case of the Yellow Manor.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't read that one. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to run The Price of Beauty this weekend as a one-shot. Oh, I haven't read that one yet.
That's what I did with Yawning Portal. Because a lot of the modules in the Yawning Portal I played, 25 years ago. And so,
We all probably own.
exactly.
I can go find my White Plume Mountain if I have to.
So a lot of them, I'll open the map and I'll kind of half remember how it's going, and then I just kind of can play it, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
we've done that a few times as like, okay, I didn't know we were actually going to be able to play this weekend, so I'll just grab this and we'll, you know. So
Yep.
yeah. But Candlekeep is not a linear. It's supposed to be played
It's supposed
like,
to be. But
okay.
to their credit, and I did not take this too seriously, and I really thought it'd be a lot more work than it was. You can use Candlekeep as a base of operations, and it makes sense. Like it's pretty easy to find a way to weave each story together
Yeah.
through Candlekeep itself.
Oh,
You know,
cool.
this book was in
Cool, cool.
Candle. The twist is, it's intended to be, you're in Candlekeep on some other mission, and you
Hmm.
stumble onto a book that triggers a side quest.
Gotcha.
It's intended, as near as I can tell, to be one of those, oh, you randomly clicked on an inventory slot, or inventory container, and you picked
Mm-hmm.
up a book. Now there's a quest in your quest log. Where the hell did that quest come from? I don't know. We picked up a random book, and now it's in the quest log. And if you're anything like true gamers, you're not resting until you figure out where that quest takes you. It doesn't
Yes.
matter how much Reddit you have to get through. You're going to figure out where this quest really started, where it really ends, what's the reward, and is it worth it? Because if it's not, you're just going to drop it.
You're right.
But
Oh
that's kind of like,
man.
they're all kind of written that way. But
Yeah.
there's room. I found room not too
Mm.
challengingly to chain things to say, oh, this happened. Now you get this book, or you're in
Mm.
Candlekeep, and the Candlekeep people say, we have a book. We need you to deal with it.
Right.
And it works pretty well.
Mm.
So I'm really geeked about that group. We're playing again. Looks like on the 23rd,
Right.
and then you're in
That's,
my. You want to be in my Halloween one shot, huh?
yep. 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 We'll do that up. You tell me when you know what kind of characters or whatever. You let
Okay,
me know, and
I'll
we'll
tell you
go
right
for
now.
it. Oh. Okay.
I'll tell you right now. It's a 5th level hero,
Okay.
and stay away from broken.
Stay away from broken.
Just
Okay.
don't
All right.
break it.
All
But
right.
I'm not putting qualifications on race. I'm not putting them on class. I prefer single classes to keep my life easy, because I know
Mhm.
sometimes you break the rule of broken
Right.
when you start to go, well, here, I have a meme for this.
Mm.
If you're on our Discord, you've seen this.
Mm.
But here's what the meme says. Let me scroll back a few pages. Here it is. If you want to build a PC based on a Reddit thread about how to do 1,500 damage per turn by level 3, I will murder you. If you want to build a PC named Dr. Farts, who farts on people and was raised by fart golems, I will murder you. So think of something between these extremes.
All right. Sure. So no goblin artificer, like I did in the last one shot where we fought what were they? What do you call them? Not moon Nazis, astro Nazis, in mechs in D&D with a talking a talking corgi who he had a stegosaurus as a mount. So yeah, so that's Dr. Fart's level, and yeah. And then I guess broken would be a character I played called Blaze Emberheart, hero.
But farts that can kill sound awesome. Best spell ever. Yeah, it's called Cloud Kill.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
been in
yeah.
D&D since 2nd edition. Yeah, just kind of keep it sane. It should be fine. The rationale behind that will actually, like, one of the reasons I'm being so, like, I don't care what you do. They don't even have to match with each other.
Yeah.
Will make sense in the game. It is I'm aiming for creepy and horror without gore. I don't do gore well.
Gotcha.
But I am going
Gotcha.
for creepy and implied harm to children.
Oh, okay.
It is Halloween. It's going to have some dark themes. I'm going to put the content warning of implied harm to children.
Okay.
I will never do it on screen.
Yeah, I do. I have a tendency to like want all the other players to pick their stuff first, because I've been doing this for 45 years, almost 45 years, and so it's no big deal to me. I'll come up with something weird no matter what's left over. And that way people who've never played or, only get that I only get to play D&D in one shots like 3 times a year. I would much rather have them
Mhm.
play what they want to play.
The
So,
good news is
so,
everybody makes a a sword and board paladin. It
mhm.
doesn't break anything.
Oh, okay.
Like it'll
Cool.
still be fine. If everyone makes a wizard,
Mm.
actually kind of cool.
Nice.
We might have to do a little bit of adjusting to the 2 combat encounters, but
Hmm.
I'm I'm pretty chill and I'm pretty roll with it. And I've had this idea for a story. When I was brainstorming a Halloween event, and I thought this could be kind of fun. And then while I was doing the Grubhub with the teen, I talked out some more elements. I'm like, oh, that's the twist I was looking for. Perfect.
Nice.
And I've got a few people that are like possibles. I'm trying to get to 4. I've got 2 for sure's, 1 maybe, and 1 possibly. And now it's a matter of just I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying not to hound anybody on their DMs, but
All right.
I might do a note tonight of like, hey, if you're in, I'm done recruiting people. If you're not, I need to get a few more emails out.
Right.
Just
And
need to know
and
which way we
time
go.
and time is flying. I mean, really, 2 weeks is, that's
The
3
30th?
weeks. Yeah,
Is that
3
3
weeks,
weeks? That's
right?
3 weeks out.
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
for me, that's yeah. Well, because in this next month, Dragon Heist is supposed to start up. I think we're at our
mhm,
4. I might actually be at 5, and I might have to like ask somebody to bow out.
mhm.
The Convergence is supposed to have its first session on the 20th,
Oh
and I don't think we're going to
wow.
be ready. I think we're going to do another session 0 that night and just apologize to everybody. Say, look, we need 1 more week to get ready.
Mm.
It's because it takes time. Everyone is currently scheduling their drawing with the artist, and the opening
Oh,
theme I need her artwork for. I
right.
also need the actual video of her drawing because I'm going to
Mm.
turn that into the part of the opening titles. I'm
Oh,
gonna use that.
sweet.
I'm gonna enhance the speed on it
Yeah, yeah,
to make it
yeah.
look time lapsey, and I've already storyboarded the opening titles. So like I know
Kick
exactly what I
ass.
want to do. We have the opening titles finished. I'm not playing them right now
Mm.
because I played them on our wrap up. So if you go watch that YouTube at the end, you can hear them, and I'm saving them for like the official like when we launch. I
Hmm.
want that to hit people
Yes.
really hard
Right.
because I'm really proud of them. They are so gloriously campy, but they're like
Nice.
I find it the perfect level of camp.
Ah, yes. Yes.
So I am so geeked for that. And that's coming up. And then the one shot's coming up. And I'm trying not to lose my job
Right.
because teaching is hell. And the team is trying to save up for a computer of their own, which means I'm driving Grubhub 3 days a week to help them raise
Wow.
money.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Ooh.
Which, upside, it's amazing
Yeah.
parent teen time because we just have time to
Oh.
drive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nice.
So it's kind
Well,
of fun.
now wait. Are you doing the driving or are they doing the
Well,
driving?
they're only 13. So I do all the driving.
Oh,
They
oh,
ride
oh,
along, and their job is to
mm.
do all the running in and out of the stores and
Got
all the
it.
deliveries. So like they're the
Yeah.
ones that get out, go in and say, "Hey, I'm here from Grubhub. I'm here for an order for Kevin,"
Mm.
and
Yep,
they come
yep.
out and they throw it in. We're using a cooler as our hot box, which
Nice. Nice,
works.
nice.
It's
Yeah.
insulated. It keeps the food warm.
Yep.
And I try not to pay too close attention. I've said this a couple of times, but it's a little disturbing how much money people are willing to pay for food delivery because
Mm.
I could be pretty comfortable in my retirement with this as my side hustle.
I I'm gonna tell you when I was a young restaurant manager, I used to have Sunday nights off, and this is before we had kids, and the significant other worked on Sundays, so I took a second job as delivering pizzas, and I mean I was making management money, but
Hmm.
I took the second job for pizzas, and that was my gaming money.
Hmm.
That was money that was not in the budget. Nobody cared about anything I made at that second job. Was just well, and that's why I've got 10,000 miniatures. And,
Mistakes were made.
mistakes were made. Exactly.
How about you? What's
401k.
what's the big upcoming thing you want to gush on? I've gushed for a while about my upcoming projects. How about you, friend?
So we are off this week because one of our players is at Disney Disney, Universal, blah blah blah. They're doing that big trip. So we're not doing Thursday night over at Indoors, but I will be back Sunday morning with some Wilder Myth that's streamed. I've got offline games that I play in. Of course, I'll be NPCing D&D, and then we're going to be starting a new game with the people I play in the UK. But I don't know anything about it yet, so that's exciting. That should be coming up this week or next, and and then I'll be back Tuesday here. Wilder Myth, my channel, Graybeard Tavern, 10 a.m. ish on Sundays. We've got a lot of players, a lot of people who are regulars in the chat. They've been characters, and that game is so interesting because your characters, 10 years might pass. You might have children. So like at this point, we put Tavern Sparrow and myself in as characters. They were the beginning party in this, and we've had 2 children in the thing, and now Graybeard is retired, but Tavern Sparrow and our son and now daughter are both characters in the ongoing. It's amazing. It's such a good game. So that'll be Sunday, and of course it's when I get to play with all my toys and act goofy. So
that's the way it should be. The way it should be. I'm going to be back here tomorrow night with my usual Wednesday night content, but it won't be D&D because we are between games. I might just play games. Like I might just play more XCOM or maybe some more Baldur's Gate 3. Because I don't want to do any convergence prep on stream. Like I've thought about it, but I'm like, oh no. I don't want to tell nobody what's going on behind the scenes until we're up and running. And I'm even like hesitant to do too much prep just because it's like I really want this to be authentic for the players. I want them really invested in every action. So we need to finish their characters.
Nice.
Before we can officially do that. And I got some ideas. And then Sunday night, I'm actually having a pup night in lieu of a D&D game. I had it as a channel challenge, and it got completely fulfilled. So I did a test yesterday. I plugged in my soundboard. I got my mic out. I plugged in my guitar. It didn't sound terrible. So Sunday night, we're going to be here doing Irish pub tunes until I run out of tunes.
Yes.
Because what else are you going to do on a Sunday night when you don't have a D&D game?
Right.
There's some stuff to be done. And then again, we're back here Tuesday for more happy hour. I'm not adverse to let's write our own DM's guide.
All right.
Like, I think that could be fun.
I am either.
But we'll have to see what percolates out over the next week. Because for all we know, we could also have a conversation on Twitter with somebody and go, no, that's our topic of the week. We need to do that. Because there were multiple this week. I'm like, topic of the week. And I've already forgotten them because it's Twitter. And like everyone else on Twitter, I have the memory of a sparrow. So I'm going to ship all of you out. Oh, as we wrap up the podcast, I got to pay attention to who we're talking to. Thank you for the download. If you're listening to this on your podcast platform of choice, thank you so much for the download. Please consider a review on that platform so other people who use it can find it. Every review matters, even if it's not a great one. Let us know what you didn't like. You can send us emails at oldtimertavern@gmail.com. It will definitely get into the queue, and it gives us topics to talk about. This is episode 36 for us. We've been doing this a while. Pretty soon we're going to start recycling topics and revisiting things. And 2 old men at the bar drinking are going to regurgitate things from time to time. You don't want that. We don't want that. Help us help you. And while you're doing things and reviewing things, please check out friend of the stream, sweetsteam.com, makers of amazing clockwork-themed chocolates. They deliver anywhere in the continental United States. And the code STEAMNOIR gets 5% off your purchase. If you're not in the U.S., check them out anyways. Let them know where you found us. Let them know how much chocolate you want. I bet you dimes to dollars they're going to find a way to get it to you.
Nice.
It's not cheap. It's just ship international, but I know the guys that run it, and they're good peeps that make amazing chocolates, and they're willing to work with you. So check them out and use that code STEAMNOIR at checkout. That 5% is good on the entire purchase, which is I'm so blessed that they're willing to sponsor us that way. Let's see. I think that's who we got to thank. So My parting thought is thank you for listening. Graybeard, your parting thought for our podcast partners?
Well, since you're looking forward to 5e or whatever it's eventually called, get out there, talk to your players, see if there's things that you can implement now before that comes up so that you're ahead of the curve. That's me, GB.
Stay safe. And for everyone here on Twitch, we got to send you somewhere. I actually have a few places I would like to go. For example, Nightlight Knight, who's one of my players for the Convergence, who has been incredibly supportive of the stream that she's going to be on. It's currently live, and I do want to make a note that she's up. And unfortunately, I can only raid one person. And I want you to check out Nebula Gaming. She was one of my players in the Curse of Strahd game. Watching her play games got me reminded about how much I loved D&D. Got me to investigate running a D&D stream, got me to reach out to her to say, hey, do you want to play some D&D? It'd be kind of fun to do it on a stream. And she did. And she played a game with me for a full year. She brought her husband on. He had never played any RPG before. We spent a year gaming together. And that's what we wrapped up when we ended Curse of Strahd. They are expecting their first later this month. So your time to hang out with her on stream is fading fast. Now's a great time to show her that love and support, and all kinds of good of well wishes for her and Luna, who is what the name they have picked, assuming the science is correct, and they do receive a gender identified child, feminine identified child. It's really exciting. I'm so glad to be friends with her and her husband. So we're going to throw you to their direction because, again, I can't say enough nice things about them. They're both just amazing people. You've seen Azteki here in the chat. He's one of my moderators, and a huge fan and supporter. And then I owe it all to Nebula kind of dragging him into that first D&D game.
Sweet.
Because there was a little bit of a, like, it was kind of an offhand, like, does your husband think you want to play? And I was half expecting no, I do streams. He does his own thing. And no, next thing I know, I got a full table and we're trying to figure out how to put two people on the same camera.
Yeah.
And it worked. We got it to work. It took us a while, but man, it was a great time. So you go show some love. We're going to wrap up here. I got to get to dinner. Graybeard's got to do his thing. We ran late because we started late and I have no regrets.
No.
We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.